Iran has officially confirmed that its supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, is dead. The announcement comes after a dramatic series of United States-Israeli airstrikes on targets in Tehran. The news has sent shockwaves through the country and the world. For many Iranians, this is a moment they never expected to come so suddenly. Officials say Khamenei died instantly during the attack. The supreme leader held power for more than 3 decades. He was the most important figure in Iran, making all major decisions for the country. The news was broadcast on all Iranian media channels. People across Iran are hearing the announcement with disbelief and fear. Many wonder what will happen next in a country already facing many challenges. The world is watching closely. This is a turning point for Iran and for the Middle East. The attack happened late at night, when most of Tehran was shrouded in darkness and the city's residents were winding down for the evening. The sudden eruption of sirens and emergency lights shattered the calm, signaling that something unprecedented was unfolding in the heart of Iran's capital. United States and Israeli forces launched a coordinated strike, targeting multiple high-profile locations across Tehran. The roar of military jets overhead and the thunderous explosions echoed through the city, leaving citizens in shock and confusion. The operation was swift, precise, and devastating, catching many off guard. The main focus of the attack was the Supreme Leader's compound, one of the most fortified and secretive sites in Iran. This area, surrounded by layers of security and surveillance, had long been considered impenetrable. Yet, on this night, it became the epicenter of destruction and chaos. During the intense strike, several key figures within the Iranian leadership were killed. The loss of these individuals sent shockwaves through the government and military ranks, creating a sudden power vacuum at the very top. Among the casualties was Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei himself, the highest authority in Iran for decades. His son, Mojtaba Khamenei, also perished in the attack. Mojtaba had been seen by many as his father's likely successor, and his death has thrown the question of Iran's future leadership into uncertainty. Mojtaba's influence had been steadily growing, with some insiders believing he was being groomed to take over the country's most powerful position. His sudden death has left a significant void in the succession plan, raising concerns about potential instability and infighting among Iran's elite. Also killed was General Esmail Qaani, the commander of Iran's elite Quds force. Qaani was a key architect of Iran's foreign military operations and a central figure in the country's defense strategy. His loss is a major blow to Iran's military leadership and its regional influence. In addition, 2 senior members of Khamenei's inner security circle lost their lives. These individuals were responsible for the supreme leader's personal safety and the security of the regime's most sensitive operations. Their deaths further weakened the inner core of Iran's leadership. The attack left large sections of the government compound in ruins. Buildings that once symbolized the strength and stability of the Iranian regime now stood damaged and smoldering, a stark reminder of the vulnerability exposed by this unprecedented strike. Emergency workers and rescue teams rushed to the scene, navigating through debris and chaos in a desperate attempt to save lives. Despite their efforts, it was too late for those inside the targeted buildings. The scale of destruction made rescue operations extremely difficult. For hours, confusion and rumors swirled online and across the city. Only after a tense period of uncertainty did Iranian state TV confirm the deaths of the country's top leaders, sending shockwaves through the nation and the world. This strike stands as the deadliest and most consequential attack against Iran's top leadership in the country's modern history. The loss of so many senior figures at once is unprecedented, and its impact will reverberate through every level of Iranian society and government. Across Tehran and beyond, people gathered in shock and mourning, lighting candles, and holding vigils for the fallen leaders. The effects of this night will be felt for years to come, shaping the future of Iran and the wider region in ways that are only beginning to unfold. The attack did not happen without warning. In fact, the world had been watching the situation escalate for weeks, with tensions rising and international news outlets providing constant updates. The sense of urgency was palpable, as governments and civilians alike braced for what might come next. For weeks, Iran had launched missile and drone attacks against Israel and United States military bases in the region. These strikes were not isolated incidents. They were part of a calculated campaign, with each attack sending a clear message to both Israel and the US. The skies over the Middle East were often lit up by the trails of rockets and the distant rumble of explosions, as military bases scrambled to defend themselves. These attacks were in response to earlier Israeli strikes inside Syria and Lebanon, which killed Iranian military advisors. The loss of these advisors was a significant blow to Iran, sparking outrage and calls for retaliation. Funerals for the fallen were broadcast across Iranian media, fueling public anger and a desire for justice. The cycle of violence seemed endless, with each side responding to the other's actions in a deadly tit-for-tat. The United States and Israel saw Iran's actions as a major threat. Both countries said they needed to stop Iran from growing stronger in the region. High-level meetings were held, with military and political leaders discussing strategies to counter Iran's influence. The alliance between the US and Israel grew even tighter, as both nations pledged to stand together against what they saw as a common enemy. They blamed Iran for arming groups like Hezbollah and Hamas. According to US and Israeli officials, Iran's support for these groups was destabilizing the entire region. Shipments of weapons and supplies were intercepted, and intelligence reports pointed to a vast network of Iranian-backed militias operating across the Middle East. These groups, in turn, carried out attacks that further fueled the conflict. For years, Iran and Israel have been enemies. The United States has often sided with Israel, providing weapons and support. Joint military exercises and arms shipments became routine, as the US sought to ensure Israel's security. This partnership was not just military, it was also political, with both countries presenting a united front on the world stage. Iran has called for the destruction of Israel, and often leads anti-United States protests. Massive rallies in Tehran and other cities featured fiery speeches from Iranian leaders, who condemned both Israel and the US. The rhetoric was harsh, and the crowds were large, reflecting deep-seated animosity that had built up over decades. This ongoing conflict made the recent attack possible. Many people feared that the back-and-forth attacks could lead to a bigger war. Civilians across the region lived in constant fear, taking shelter during air raids and anxiously following the news. Military forces on all sides were on high alert, ready to respond at a moment's notice. The sense of uncertainty was overwhelming, as everyone wondered if the next attack would be the one to spark a full-scale war. The death of the supreme leader has made that fear much more real. His passing created a power vacuum and uncertainty about what would happen next. Across Iran, people mourned in the streets, holding vigils and expressing both grief and anxiety. The world watched closely, knowing that the next moves by Iran, the US and Israel could determine the fate of the entire region. After the announcement of Khamenei's death, Iran's National Security Council met in an emergency session. Iran's president and top generals appeared on TV to address the nation. They called the attack an act of war and blamed both the United States and Israel. The military promised a strong response. Iranian commanders said their forces are on high alert across the country. The foreign ministry sent warnings to both the US and Israeli embassies in other countries. The National Security Council released a statement, saying, "The enemies of Iran have committed a grave crime. The Islamic Republic will respond at a time and place of its choosing." The government asked people to stay calm and trust their leaders. Officials also called for 3 days of national mourning. All military bases were placed under the highest state of readiness. The people of Iran woke up to a country in mourning. Black banners were hung on government buildings. Crowds gathered in Tehran and other cities, crying and chanting prayers for their lost leader. Many Iranians lined up at mosques and public squares to pay their respects. Some people held pictures of Khamenei and his son. Funeral ceremonies are planned for the coming days, with millions expected to attend. Shops and businesses closed as a sign of respect. State television played sad music and religious songs. Religious leaders led special prayers for the supreme leader, asking for strength and unity for the nation. Some people are afraid of what comes next. There are worries about unrest or more attacks. But for now, most Iranians are focused on mourning and remembering Khamenei's long rule. With the supreme leader dead, Iran faces a moment of deep uncertainty and anxiety. The supreme leader has been the most powerful figure in Iran for decades, shaping the country's politics, foreign policy, and even daily life. Now, with his sudden absence, the nation is left wondering what comes next. Across the country, people are glued to their televisions and phones, searching for updates and trying to make sense of what this means for their future. According to the Iranian constitution, when the supreme leader dies or is incapacitated, a temporary leadership council immediately takes charge. This is a critical safeguard designed to prevent chaos and ensure that the government continues to function smoothly during this sensitive transition period. This temporary council is made up of three key figures: the President of Iran, the head of the judiciary, and a senior cleric from the powerful Guardian Council. Together, they are tasked with making important decisions and maintaining order until a new supreme leader is chosen. Each member brings a different perspective and set of responsibilities, reflecting the complex balance of power within Iran's political system. The council's main job is to keep the government running and to avoid any power vacuum that could destabilize the country. They oversee daily affairs, coordinate with the military and security forces, and try to reassure both the public and international observers that Iran remains stable and under control. Meanwhile, the Assembly of Experts, a powerful body made up of senior Islamic clerics, will soon convene in Tehran. Their sole responsibility is to select the next supreme leader. This assembly is highly influential, and its members are chosen for their religious knowledge and political loyalty. The process is secretive and can be highly contentious, as different factions within the government and religious establishment vie for influence. The selection process is not quick. It can take several days or even weeks, as the assembly debates, negotiates, and ultimately votes on who will become the next supreme leader. During this time, the country remains in a state of suspense, with many watching closely for any sign of instability or unrest. There are many questions and much speculation about who will take Khamenei's place. The uncertainty has led to intense debate among political analysts, both inside Iran and around the world. Newspapers and television programs are filled with discussions about possible successors and what their leadership might mean for Iran's future. Some experts believe that this could be a turning point, with the potential for major changes in Iran's leadership style or even its policies. They argue that new leadership could open the door to reforms or shifts in the country's approach to both domestic and international issues. Others, however, think that Iran's hardline system is deeply entrenched and will likely continue as before. They point to the powerful networks of clerics, security forces, and loyalists who have maintained the status quo for decades, suggesting that any change will be slow and carefully controlled. Until a new supreme leader is chosen, the temporary council will do everything it can to keep Iran stable and functioning. They are under immense pressure to prevent unrest, manage the economy, and maintain the country's international relationships during this delicate time. However, beneath the surface, there are real fears of power struggles between rival political and religious groups. The coming days and weeks will be critical, as Iran navigates one of the most uncertain periods in its recent history. Khamenei's death could change Iran and the Middle East. Without a strong leader, Iran may face political turmoil. There could be protests, fights among leaders, or even more attacks from outside the country. Some people hope a new leader might be more open to peace talks with the United States and its neighbors. Others fear hardliners will push for revenge and more conflict. The next weeks will be crucial for Iran's future. The world is watching closely. The United States and Israel are preparing for possible Iranian responses. Countries in the Middle East fear the crisis could spread, making life harder for millions. No one knows exactly what will happen next, but the death of Iran's supreme leader is sure to shape the future of the region for years to come.